Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into something that might just, well, flip how you think about two really basic parts of being human,
hmm
our mental well-being and our moral compass. We usually keep these pretty separate.
Totally separate boxes. You've got doctors and therapists for the mind stuff.
And then philosophers or maybe teachers for the morality side.
Exactly. But what if there's actually a hidden connection there? What if how you're doing mentally really affects your morality? And maybe the other way around, too.
That's precisely the idea we're digging into today. It's based heavily on work by Professor Hyoungbin Park, specifically a piece called An Aspect of Mental Health of Morality in Medical Science and Moral Education as Mind Healing.
Yeah, Professor Park's work really pulls together threads from philosophy, psychology, even neuroscience, arguing for this deep link.
So our mission here is to, well, pull out the key insights from this material for you. We want to see how looking at morality through a mental health lens, and maybe vice versa, gives us this fresh, potentially powerful perspective.
Especially thinking about something like moral education, maybe being a form of mind healing.
Okay, so let's start where we usually do. What is mental health, according to this view? Because it sounds like it's way more than just, not having a diagnosis.
That's exactly right. We often think, okay, I don't have a diagnosed mental illness, so I'm mentally healthy.
Yep.
But the sources push for a much richer, more positive definition.
Okay.
Like, think about the World Health Organization. They define health as complete physical, mental, and social well-being,
Yeah.
not just the absence of disease.
Complete well-being. That's a high bar.
It is. And crucially, they say health just cannot exist without mental health. It's fundamental.
So what does that look like then, this sort of complete mental well-being?
Well, it covers a lot. Your own feeling of well-being, feeling good about life, but also things like feeling competent, having autonomy, believing you can handle things, self-efficacy. And other researchers add more layers.
Yeah.
M. Jehoda talked about a positive attitude toward yourself, growth, integration, perceiving reality accurately, mastering your environment.
Okay.
Keith Tudor mentions things like handling stress, having a solid self-concept, self-esteem, autonomy again, and social adaptability.
It's quite a list. Sounds like really functioning well inside and out.
And Virginia Satter even includes things like being able to apologize, handle criticism fairly, accept reality, love others, have good relationships. It's about being a whole functional person.
It almost sounds like having a healthy inner ecosystem, Everything working together.
That's a great way to put it. It's
Yeah.
often described as achieving a balance and harmony.
Yeah.
Some frameworks, like Hersey and Blanchard's, talk about balancing the id, ego, and superego, basically, your impulses, your reality principle, and your conscience.
So reason, emotion, will all working together smoothly.
Exactly. That's the goal state, allowing you to adapt, connect, and grow.
Okay, so if that's the positive picture of mental health, how does mental illness fit in?
Mental illness, or psychopathology, is essentially the state of unhealthiness in that sphere. It's when those functions, thinking, feeling, behaving, get disrupted enough that it makes it hard to cope, to adapt, to live your daily life.
And our understanding of what causes that has changed a lot over time.
Oh, absolutely. From historical views, sometimes involving superstition or spirits, to modern approaches focusing on biological factors, psychotherapy, medication. It's been a long journey.
And the source brings up that really interesting counter movement, the anti-psychiatry perspective. What was their take?
Right, figures like Thomas Saz, R.D. Laing, Eysenck. Saz, for instance, made this provocative argument. He said, okay, physical illness affects the body, but many things we call mental illness aren't physical diseases in the same way.
So what are they then?
He called them problems of life, issues rooted more in social difficulties, ethical conflicts, personal struggles. Isaac saw some as behavioral disorders, maybe learned incorrectly.
They weren't denying the suffering, were they? Just questioning the label of illness for everything.
Exactly. They suggested that the cause might not always be purely biological, and therefore the treatment shouldn't always be purely medical. Psychological approaches, re-education, maybe even philosophical reflection could be key.
Ah, and that's the link back.
That's the bridge. This perspective opens the door to connecting these problems of life to things like personality development, psychology, and yes, even moral development or education. It suggests these domains might not be so separate after all.
Which leads us right into this long history connecting morality and the mind. It's not a new idea, is it?
Not at all. It's ancient, but it's also woven into our modern thinking. I mean, just look at psychiatric diagnoses like antisocial personality disorder or desocial personality disorder.
Right, those explicitly link patterns of immoral behavior to a mental health diagnosis.
Exactly. It implies that having the capacity for moral behavior is somehow tied up with being psychologically healthy.
So is the suggestion that acting immorally could actually be a sign of being mentally unwell?
That connection is definitely explored in the material, and it points way back. Think of Plato. He didn't just see immorality as bad choices. He called it a disease of the soul.
Ah, yes. Virtue as the health of the soul.
Precisely. For Plato, a healthy soul, like a healthy body, needed balance, order, self-control, harmony between reason, the spirited part, and the appetites. This whole idea, this medical model of virtue, actually pops up again much later in humanistic psychology.
Okay, like with Adler.
Yeah, Alfred Adler. He basically believed that a mentally healthy person is a moral person. The key was having social interest, this genuine desire to contribute, to see others as colleagues, not rivals.
And he thought that was trainable.
He did. And he linked a lack of social interest directly to neurosis, psychopathology, even criminality.
Yeah.
For Adler, acting morally wasn't some heroic effort. It was just common sense for someone mentally sound.
Wow. Morality is just good mental function.
And Maslow, too. His peak of mental health, self-actualization, those people naturally perceive and are drawn to values like truth, goodness, beauty. He even suggested that lacking a value system could be seen as almost psychotic.
So it's deeply embedded in their idea of a fully functioning person.
Definitely. Eric Fromm also linked mental health to what he called the natural human being, someone inherently loving, creative, rational, with a strong sense of self.
So philosophers, psychologists, they all seem to see this overlap. The lines between being good and being healthy get kind of blurry.
They really do blur. The source points out how we mix them in everyday thinking. Like we might see alcoholism as a disease.
But still hold someone morally accountable for drunk driving.
Exactly. Or we talk about self-respect, which sounds moral, and self-esteem, which sounds psychological, almost as the same thing. Moral values sneak into therapy goals all the time.
Okay, so the conceptual link is strong, but then the source takes it a step further, right?
Yeah.
Into the actual brain.
Yes. And this is where it gets incredibly compelling, I think. Neuroscience is starting to provide actual physical evidence for this connection between our minds, our brains, and our morality.
So actual brain regions involved in right and wrong.
Specific regions, yeah.
No.
The source highlights the orbitofrontal cortex. It's part of the prefrontal cortex, right behind your eyes.
What does that part do?
It seems crucial for judging others' emotions, understanding